Hey Thrivers, Heather Tote here. Whew, I'm a little out of breath. I was just running up and down the stairs doing laundry, of all things. I'm sure many of you can relate to the endless struggle between you and the laundry basket. So I am really excited for this challenge. Thank you all for weighing in on our poll. And I'm glad that this one was a topic that won. I'm excited to address some of the others as well. But this whole idea of this 6 days of great communication and how to improve communication between you and your spouse. And I'm also going to add you and yourself. And we'll talk about that here in just a little minute. So I don't see anyone on right now. Sometimes it takes a little while for everyone to jump on live. But as you jump on, go ahead and I want to make this really interactive. I'm going to ask some questions. I'd love for you to respond in the comments so that we can take where you are and work together on how to improve communication in your marriage and with yourself. So I see a couple of you are watching. Hi, how's it going? And like I was just saying, if you have a question or comment, please interact so I know how best to help you and make the most of our time together. So this whole idea of improving in communication, what's drawing you to this? Why is this something of interest to you right now? What is it about improving communication that speaks to you? So I just want us to connect with why we want to improve communication in the first place. Why is it important? Where are you currently at? The first day of this challenge, we're going to take a minute to assess where we are at so that we know what the specific goals are going forward. Let's face it, we're all going to be in very different places in our relationships, and I'm going to help you understand maybe where you are right now in your communication level currently so that we can get you going upwards. Some of us are going to be way at the top, looking to deepen intimacy, looking to deepen connection. And some people are really struggling to communicate or get needs met on a very basic level. And that's okay. There are no wrong places to start. It's just to understand that we're all going to be in really different places. So with that in mind, I have quite the task on my hands, knowing that some people have a really a healthier communication going on in their relationship, and they're looking to take it to the next level. And then we also have some really severe issues going on in communication and helping those people as well. So the best way for me to help you is to chime in, let me know where you feel like you are at. So right off the bat, I'm going to ask us all some questions and take a minute to weigh in on the answers to these questions. So I posted this earlier, but I want to take a minute to really think about this. Why do you feel like communication needs to be improved in your marriage? Why is that something that's of importance to you right now at this time? And I always like to start with things that are really positive. So you might be immediately thinking of everything that you want to see improved, all the things that are not going well, and that's okay. We will get to that. But first, where is an area that communication is going well? What do you and your spouse love to talk about? What are the really fun, easy conversations to have? Okay. What do you laugh about? What do you connect on? So if you're watching live, you can go ahead and leave a comment. If you're watching later, you can still comment because I do check all the comments later to make sure I address everyone's needs. So what are the best conversations that you and your spouse have? And why? What is it that you really love about those things? When you can take what's going really well and kind of reverse engineer it and understand it's going really well because I feel like we have common ground, or I feel that we have a good sense of humor together. I feel really understood when we have conversations like this. If you can reverse engineer it and determine why those conversations are going well for you, then you can use that strength like a pillar. If we're going to be building like a 3-legged table or something, you want each pillar strengthened. So you already have some strength there. So we're going to rely upon that strength as we go forward. So take an assessment. Where do you feel like you're communicating really well and why? And then where are you struggling to communicate on the other end of the spectrum? Where is it that you and your spouse are not communicating very well? Is it in those you feeling like you have anything in common? Is it that you feel like needs are not being met? Is it that you're having disagreements about things frequently? Is it that things escalate when you're trying to communicate, or in just your communication in general? Do you feel like things are more reactive than responsive, for example? Do you feel like you're kind of at a surface level? I got one comment to the post this morning. She was mentioning that they're able to laugh and have fun on the lighter topics, but when it gets to the deeper things, there's nothing there. And she even was being ridiculed a little bit by her husband and just gets a cold shoulder, not getting those deeper issues met. Okay. So where are you at in that? Where are you struggling in your communication? What would you like to see improved there? And then when we're talking about communication, it's more than just words. It's more than just the conveying of ideas or emotions between two people. When we're talking about communication, we're often talking about needs being met in a marriage, that you're struggling to communicate or having your needs being met. So what needs are and are not being met for you and your spouse in the marriage? Taking a step back there and really thinking about, I'm not getting my need met here, but they're also not getting their need met there. Sometimes you don't even know what needs there might be. And so that is a different task, is to uncover what the needs are. And we're going to go into that deeper tomorrow when we're talking about our challenge for tomorrow. I don't want to give too much away. All right. So now we're going to do a little bit of a deeper assessment. I don't know, I guess I'm a logical kind of person, but in some ways, I like to use like a number scale. So this number scale helps to show where you might be at in your communication in your marriage and how you can therefore improve. So 1 to 2 on our scale, this means that you do communicate mostly really, really well. You're just looking to take it that extra little bit further. Maybe things have become a little bit stale or a little bit boring, a little bit predictable in your relationship. And so you want to even deeper your understanding and your intimacy even more. You're looking to take it to the next level, like putting the cherry on the top, right? 3 to 4 would be you communicate well, but you have a few issues that you're having difficulty resolving. So there's just a few things that you just kind of clash on, or some of these a little bit lighter topics that you're just really not connecting on for whatever reason. 5 to 6 would be that you communicate more on like a surface level, but you don't address real issues, or you have tension when these things are being brought up. You have no structure or support for addressing issues and getting your needs met. Okay, deep breath, guys, because unfortunately, this is where a lot of marriages end up, and it's where a lot of marriages stay. We're talking about 5 to 6, the middle of the road here, where you have connection in some areas are being met, and then there are other areas that are simply not being met, and you don't have structure or support in your marriage to get you moving forward with those things. So this is the comfort zone, which is the difficult zone, because you get a little bit complacent often. Things become really, really normalized, and then in that it becomes difficult to have the courage or the gumption to want to change. You get adapted to the way that things are. They're less than ideal, but you become okay with that. And so I would encourage us that we're worth a lot more than that, and our marriages are worth a lot more than that. So be willing to step out of your comfort zone, recognize that while they aren't terrible, they aren't great either, right? There's definitely some room for improvement. And so being willing to be the one to say, we can do this, we can improve our marriage, we don't have to stay where we are, we deserve better. Okay. And then 7 to 8, here is where things start to get much rockier, where you argue a lot and seem to disagree or fall into bad or negative communication habits more often than not. So here things are getting much more stressed. There's much more tension. There's a lot less common ground going on. And there seems to be little you have in common or can communicate about. This is when things start to feel really, really rough and uncomfortable. And then 9 to 10, this is where things have gotten deteriorated to the point where you cannot have a conversation even about the smallest things. Even like the simplest things will escalate. They'll turn into a fight. So it's like, I can't even say, hey honey, good morning, or welcome home, how was your day, without it being like, oh, why do you care? Like things have become so tense that you can't talk about even regular, simpler things without it being a big deal. So I'm not seeing any comments yet. If you guys have any questions, if you want to weigh in, where do you feel like you are on that scale of 1 to 10? How good would you say your communication is in your marriage? And it's okay. Wherever you are, it's perfectly okay. It's good to just say, that's where I am, and take a deep breath and allow it. Don't resist it. And then we can start to build and work from there. So the next question being, how would you get to a 10? What is it going to take to get you to that level 10? What is really needed in your relationship, in your marriage? Hi, John. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. I appreciate that. And so oftentimes we spin our wheels looking for the answer outside ourselves. So I just want to take a minute here to honor the wisdom, the intuition that is actually held within each one of us. Sometimes we look to an expert or a book, a counselor, a pastor, and those are great sources, and we're actually going to use some of them. But I do want you to take a minute right now to tap into your own inner guidance system. I call it your IGS. That your IGS is better than your GPS. We all have intuition inside ourselves that has answers to problems if we just stop and listen to them. So in the next upcoming days and in the weeks and months, years ahead, as we're looking to improve our communication, looking to improve our marriages, sometimes the very, very best thing that we can do is to take a quiet minute and ask ourselves some of those deep questions. So right now, I'm giving this as an example. Like right now, I might say, I'm at a level like 8. Like we disagree more than we agree. We end up in shouting matches. We say rude things to each other. Okay, that's where we are. That's where we are. It's okay. Now, how do we get through that? What can we do now to start to improve this? What are the solutions? How can we get up to a level, eventually to a level 10, right? So I'm encouraging you to assess where you are, be honest with where you are, know that it's okay wherever you are, and then give yourself some quiet time to really think about this without judgment, without the emotions riling you back up about everything, but take a step back and allow yourself to give yourself the answers, if that makes sense. You might be surprised that when you do that, there will be inspiration, intuition, things will come to your mind. Oh yeah, when my mom said that, you should have a softer voice, like a softer tone is more effective. I realize I haven't been doing that. So definitely, I think that if I could use a softer tone with my spouse in my home, that is going to make a difference. Those kind of answers will come up for you, and it is amazing. It is probably better than anything that you will hear me or Mark or any other marriage expert out there tell you, because we can give you as much information or resources as we can, but unless, oh, sorry, there we go. My husband's getting the kids, not me. And so, the truth is that you know your marriage better than any of us. Unless I'm working with you one-on-one, I have the privilege of getting really deep into your specific circumstances. In a broader platform like this with, several thousand members in this group, you can be your own guiding source to get yourself started. So definitely want to encourage you to do that. All right. Now let's talk a little bit more about how you communicate the problems that you do have, these problems that need to be resolved with your spouse. First of all, how are you communicating them? More often than not, what does that look like? Does it come across as any of the negative forms? We'll just go over those first. Nagging, criticizing, attacking, blaming, escalating, shouting, screaming, name calling, anything like that, is that your go-to habit? Is that your go-to response to communicate with your spouse about frustrations, angers, fears, resentments, hurts, distrust, broken trust, all of those kind of things? How are you communicating your real needs? All right. And how do you communicate those with your friends and your family? Do you go out and complain about it? Do you go out and ask for help? Do you go out to commiserate with other people about it? What does that look like? When we take a step back and realize, how am I actually communicating that? Is it getting me what I want? Is the real question when we step back. For instance, as a woman, we tend to get together in groups or together in little packs and talk about the same things. In that talking, though, we often get into these things of, oh, I totally understand where you're coming from. He shouldn't have done that, da 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 da. And you're getting understanding, but are you getting solutions? And sometimes, is that even getting you a step back? Are you taking things too far? Is it turning into gossip? Is it turning into backbiting, or a kind of, that kind of negative attitude is actually having a negative influence or a negative impact on the situation? So being really aware of the way that we are communicating with our spouse and to others. I did a training a couple weeks ago, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, on what to do when your spouse pisses you off, right? And so for those of you that were able to watch that, and if you haven't, I recommend going and reviewing it. What we talk about, the things not to do, the old way, right? And those include igniting. Igniting means you're bringing fire to fire. That would be blaming, criticizing, and spreading the fire outside of your marriage to others. And often when you're wanting to be understood, but you're not really solving problems, right? Often your friends or your family will give you that understanding, but you still don't come to a real solution on what to do. You come home and you feel maybe further justified or excused in your behavior, but you're not actually solving what's going on. So I'm all for friends and family support. Don't get me wrong with that. Just make sure that the communication that you're having is productive. It is moving you to what you want, and you're not just flaming the fire, right? Igniting the fire. Okay. So there's that. And then how are you talking to yourself? How do you communicate to yourself about these things? We often don't stop to think that all communication actually starts within our own selves, within our own minds and our own thoughts. We don't really think of that as communication, but everything starts there. So how are you talking to yourself about these problems? Are you just kind of stewing in them and just letting them whirl around you? I understand that can be very easy to do. But are you actually getting to solutions? Are you actually coming up with productive ways to move yourself forward? How do you talk to yourself about yourself? What kind of language do you use when you're talking to yourself about yourself? What kind of language do you use and thoughts and emotions do you use when you're talking to yourself and you have these different thoughts about your spouse, right? And so as we can take a step back, would I even talk that way to a friend? Would I tell my friend the things that I'm telling myself? So when we learn to talk to ourselves with love, compassion, respect, understanding, and effectiveness, we are much more likely to then bring that level of communication to the way that we talk to our spouse. Bottom line is, guys, we can't give something that we don't have ourselves. So if I don't have respect for myself, if I don't have love for myself, then how can I give respect and love to my husband? And how can I demand that he give me love and respect when I don't love or respect myself? A really common pattern that happens is that when we don't love and respect ourselves, we want someone else to fill that void for us. And so we're going to our spouse in particular, thinking, you married me, right? I married you, we're married, and you're supposed to make me happy. You're supposed to make me feel complete or whole and loved. You're supposed to fill that emotion for me. And the problem is that someone can never do that for you because it's something only you can really do for yourself. They can absolutely add to it, but they can't replace it. And that was a big shift for me in my marriage in my earlier days. I felt like Ben was the source of my happiness, and he was supposed to make me feel loved and accepted and supported. And when I constantly was looking to him for that source, it felt great when he gave it, but it felt awful when he didn't. And I came to realize through a long process, long journey, I'm going to share a poem with you guys that I wrote about when he was supporting me during cancer. And I was bald and pregnant and just felt awful about myself, how he was still there and he was still constant. But I learned that feeling of true happiness and that source of true connection and peace and joy had to come from only within me. I couldn't depend on someone else, because doing that was like throwing myself, like all of the, what am I trying to say here? It's like putting my life and all my circumstances into someone else's hands. And that's equals that I have no control over my own life. I have no control over my own happiness. I'm looking to someone else, and I'm looking to circumstances outside of me to give me that feeling. So as we go forward in this challenge, yes, a big part of it is learning how to communicate with your spouse, how to improve your communication, improve intimacy, help you get needs met, show respect and understanding. But I'm going to encourage you all along the way to start showing that level of love, compassion, understanding, and respect to yourself first. When you start to fill up your own cup and feel that you have the reserves, the emotional, mental, and physical reserves, you will come that much more better prepared to the table when it comes to dealing with these things with your spouse. Does that make sense? Can you see the value in this? I sure hope so. Love to see some comments. You guys have been really quiet. I feel like I'm doing all the talking here. So I did get a question, and we're going to go into this a little bit here. I thought this was a really good example on how to apply some of these things, and I'll continue to use this in the upcoming days. I'll do a couple more live streams throughout our challenge. She's saying, I am needing to have a huge conversation about our finances in the next few months. I am extremely nervous about it. So I need to start planning now to figure out how I'm going to do it! Exclamation mark. So this is a big deal. Long story short, my husband is financially controlling with my money, and I don't have any say in our finances. He even angrily demanded that I do not pay our bills or pay our bill one time. I'm concerned about him ruining my credit. I have a deep desire to be involved in our budgeting and financial management. I am extremely frugal, and I don't see my financial input as being unreasonable. But he has previously rejected my requests to be involved, belittling me in the process. Okay, thank you so much for submitting this and for reaching out about this. This is a really, really good example. I know not everyone is going to be in this same kind of place. This is definitely on the upper end of the scale of not getting needs met, not being able to communicate about needs, etc. So, it looks like my toddler's up. Come on in, sweetie. So my first question right off the bat here is that this woman says, you're needing to have a huge conversation about our finances in the next few months. So my first question, and this is like what I would do if I was working with you one-on-one, is, okay, huge conversation in the next few months. Why is this waiting for a few months? This obviously seems like it's a really important thing to you. I'm not sure how long it's been going on. I'd love to get some more information, some more details so I can get accurate coaching here. But if this is so important to you, why are you waiting a few months? To me, that's a really, really long time to be living with something that is this important and fundamental to you. It seems like, you have deep concerns, a deep desire. Okay, you're worried about your credit, all of these things. So why are we waiting a few months? And it seems like maybe you're extremely nervous about it. You need to start planning now to figure out how you're going to do it. Okay, darling, I appreciate that this is terrifying to you. I appreciate that when you had conversations about this in the past, that he angrily demanded that you do not pay a bill. He previously rejected your request to be involved and even belittled you. So, honey, I get it. I really get this, that why you would be nervous. So I understand that you want to do this planning. You want to make sure it's all set up, ready to go. But again, I'm going to urge you to do this sooner, much sooner than several months or a few months into the future. There are things that it's kind of like that. I'm getting ready to get ready. I'm getting ready to get ready to get ready to get ready. And my concern there with just what I'm seeing here on a base level is that you can get stuck in a process of, I'm never ready. I don't know enough. And I understand you need some tools and resources. Hold on just a second. I'm sorry. My daughter's still knocking on the door, so I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Someone just got up from nap, so I appreciate your patience. And she's just gonna be my snuggle buddy here while we keep talking. Okay, so being very aware not to get into a cycle of I'm getting ready to get ready, because this is very tempting to do when you have a lot of fear. You're constantly putting it off, waiting for the perfect moment, waiting until you know just what to say and how to say it, etc., etc. The danger with that is that then you never get your needs met. And I can tell this is a big one to you. So I would encourage you to, yes, get the tools that you need, get yourself into the right mindset to handle this effectively, but take action and make a determination that you're going to have courage to do this much sooner than a few weeks out or a few months out. Not even a few weeks, a few months, okay? We want to definitely get you going there sooner than that so that you don't have to live with that weight any longer. You are worth it. You are worth being free of that. Second thing that comes to my mind here before we go into some of the things we can talk about, and we'll do this again in another live stream. I'll go a little bit deeper into some of the things. But it seems like you are very concerned about him ruining your credit and that you have a desire to have some say here in the financial management. You are an extremely frugal person and you don't see your financial input as being unreasonable. Yes. Okay. So again, with this one, really tap into that this is my credit. Okay. You absolutely have rights to your own credit. I can understand that you don't want this to turn into World War III with your husband though. So there's a way that you can get your need met because this is your credit and it is absolutely reasonable with what you're asking. So let's prepare you in the best way possible to make this a productive conversation where you can really get needs met. The best way for me, honestly, to do that would be to go in deeper with you, but we'll definitely do what we can on this platform. So here, I would ask a couple really good questions for myself, okay? First of all, why do you feel like he is rejecting your request to do this? Rejecting your request to be involved. What is his experience? What is his understanding of finances? How does he see the role being played out? Okay, and we're going to go a little bit deeper into that on our challenge tomorrow, so I won't give too much into that. But why is this conversation so important to you? How do you perceive that you could have it be the best conversation possible? Where do you feel like you're lacking? And what are the skills that you need to know or how to approach it so that we can get you there? So I look forward to your feedback on that. I would really like to hear back from you on how to handle those answers to those questions so that we can address them a little bit further. So if anyone else has any questions, go ahead and shoot them into the comment section here. I'd be happy to address them. I'll give it just a few minutes. Okay, that's totally fine. So just as a little sum up here, let's assess where we are at. We're all going to be at very different places, right? And so knowing where we are at in our communication with our spouse, with our friends and our family, and most importantly, where are we at in our communication with ourself, right? How can we improve the level of respect, compassion, love, and understanding there, even to ourselves, so that that can then strengthen us going forward in our marriages, will absolutely help improve the communication level in your marriage and ensure that you are getting your needs met and your partner is getting their needs met to work towards that happy and thriving marriage. So I appreciate you guys. Enjoy the challenge. Make sure to leave comments so we can help you out with anything that you need. And we'll talk to you soon. We'll talk to you tomorrow about tomorrow's challenge. All right, guys, have a great day.